Hey, hey, Wild West Adventures. I'm coming to you from Fort Apache up in the northern part of Arizona. This fort was from the 1800s where American soldiers and their families were stationed here working alongside Apache troops, and they were in the Wild West. Let's check it out.
What you see before you is the Salt River. The Salt River begins at the confluence of the White and Black Rivers. It travels through the White Mountains and it ends at the Gila River in Phoenix, Arizona. We are here at the Salt River Rest Area, and there are two bridges that cross the river. The original bridge was built in 1934 and is known for its filigree design. The second bridge was built in 1996, and it is a red bridge that features these 5 symbols, and I'm curious, does anyone out there know what these symbols stand for? If you know the language and what they stand for, leave a comment down below. The original filigree bridge is still here, but it is only for pedestrian traffic.
And if you hear a strange sound, it's because I got my ghost reader on. So if you hear any strange talking that's not my voice, we know we have a ghost at present.
The buildings in Fort Apache were constructed between 1874 and 1932. This was a major outpost during the Apache Wars from 1861 to 1886. And it remained a military post until 1922. In 1923, the fort became the site of the Theodore Roosevelt Indian School. While this school is still around, it no longer uses these historical buildings.
This is the captain's quarters of Fort Apache. This is the commanding officer's quarters. It's an awesome Victorian style building, really well preserved, really beautiful.
This structure is the Bureau of Indian Affairs Clubhouse. It was constructed in 1930 to provide housing and kitchen facilities for unmarried teachers employed at the Theodore Roosevelt School. The buildings that were constructed down Officers Row were built with the family in mind. This was to help reinforce the small town atmosphere of the very outlying post. Most of these buildings were remodeled in the 1930s to serve as housing for the school staff.
What you're looking at here are the ruins of the barracks. So you can see this is the last surviving enlisted men's barracks. It's on the east end of Barracks Row. These were made out of adobe. They were completed in 1889 and this was the last one completed. It was designed to house a troop of cavalry or a company of infantry. Each of these normally consisted of about 40 men. This is a different view of those barracks. This is the side view, so you can really see the adobe structure, the bricks underneath.
In the early days of the Theodore Roosevelt School, the girls were housed in the old Fort Hospital and the boys were housed in the barracks that we just saw. Soon after, however, a dedicated dormitory was built for both the girls and the boys. And you can tell by the monumental architecture of these buildings that they really stated a purpose, that the boarding school was to remove Indian children from the traditional cultures and indoctrinate them into Anglo-American society.
So standing here in the middle of the parade grounds, you can see the girls' dormitory, which we're facing at now, and you can see the enormity of these parade grounds as I'm standing in the middle. These were the original parade grounds from when it was Fort Apache. It later became the football field and the running track. And over there is the boys' dormitory, which was built in 1923 when this became an Indian boarding school. Remember, hit this thumbs up button, share, and subscribe to Wild West Adventures. Well, I don't know about you guys, but I'm famished. Let's go get something to eat.
This stone cafeteria building was constructed in 1948 to serve the students of the Theodore Roosevelt School. It is the last building constructed here that is part of the Fort Apache Historic District. Prior to its construction, the kitchen and dining room was in one of the barracks that we saw earlier. Throughout most of the boarding school era, unfortunately, academic education was secondary to vocational training. So it was the children that provided much of the labor necessary for the daily operation of the school, including laundering, cleaning, and working in the kitchen.
This concludes our tour of Fort Apache, Arizona. We hope you enjoyed it, and be sure to come on up yourself and check it out. It's open Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Catch you on down the road.
But don't go anywhere because we're heading up to the Fort Apache Cemetery. Now would be a good time to subscribe, or this ghost girl will get you in your sleep.
Hey, Wild West Adventures. We're here at the cemetery in Fort Apache, Arizona. We're going to tour around, give you a little bit of the history of the people who are buried here. This is the Fort Apache Cemetery. During the military period of the fort from 1870 to 1922, soldiers and their family members, as well as Apache scouts and their families, were buried here in the post cemetery. Following the Army's abandonment of the fort, the remains of most non-Apaches were buried here were removed to the federal cemetery in Santa Fe, New Mexico. Apache burials here were not disturbed, and the cemetery continues to be occasionally used by the local community. So these are tombstones, and they're military style, but they're children. You see there's an infant, a child, and then another infant over here. And these were the the sons and or daughters of soldiers that were stationed here at Fort Apache during the time that it was a working fort. Over here we have additional military-esque grave markers with just a name, sometimes unknown. Here we have an Indian child, and we also had teachers here from when it was an Indian school, a day school. After the fort closed down, many of the military tombs were moved to the military cemetery in New Mexico, but some of these obviously have still remained. Although this cemetery, this part is old, it is still a working cemetery. Behind us over in this direction, there is still active burials here, so please come here with respect and caution and treat it as you would any cemetery. One thing I've noticed is a lot of these are unknown or marked as child or infant, and some of them say native, some of them don't say anything like that. So I'm thinking that a lot of the soldiers' remains may have been moved to the National Cemetery, but their families remained here. We hope you enjoyed this tour of the Fort Apache Cemetery. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, like, share, and subscribe. Catch you on down the road.
Stay tuned for our recommendation on where to eat. Since the cafeteria was closed, but we were still famished, after we toured the cemetery, we went to the Honda Resort Casino. I had an Apache Sunrise, which is a fry bread topped with beans, chorizo, eggs, lettuce, tomato, and cheese. The thing was huge. My other half had a breakfast burrito. Both were delicious. So, if you're up here in the area and are famished like us, stop on by the Honda Resort Casino.